Alright, I'm going to be taking on Lekon's Table Curious this time, and I'm going to be doing it with a Gorgon, like the quest Errand Boy Part 3 required for the non-curious version, but this time I'm going to be doing it without my trusty avatar's Codex. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, you might have noticed by now that I really only do two things. I use Avatar's Codex, and I abuse things horribly. And if there's no Avatar's Codex, you could probably then tell this is not going to be a fair run. I like, by the way, the Pizor already lying right next to Binlor, so Binlor had to drop his own Pizor further away, because the natural Pizor was taking up space. I don't know, that just seems funny to me. So my prepped item this time is Draining Blade, which is something I've heard of other people prepping, especially for Vicious Gauntlet runs, but not one I've ever prepped myself. What it is it's like Vampiric Blade. It gives 1 lifesteal, but it has some pretty nasty drawbacks. It gives you 5 corrosion and 9 curses immediately. This is, it's found in, I think, a sub-dungeon somewhere, and also in Tinker Silver as one of the weird, oddly bad items there. But the reason for taking it is that it lets you prep Draining Blade, and then you still have a chance of finding Vampiric Blade in a shop somewhere. Whereas if you prep Vampiric Blade, that's it. You can't find Draining Blade anywhere. This is my first time ever seeing the Soul Sphere item, so I picked it up. It looked pretty cool. I'm kind of hoping that it will do something that will let me get a silly amount of mana out of it. Alas, that will not be the case. It does not stack mana from no experience kills. So the way the Curious rule in Lekon's Table works is that, as before, the monsters you kill all respawn as goats, but unlike before, these aren't generic traitless goats. Instead, they have special abilities. And there's 7 types of enemy goats that spawn this way. They're themed around the 7 deadly sins, and so they're named like Lekon's Pride, Lekon's Wrath, that sort of thing. And they always spawn in the same order every time. Pride is always first, Wrath is always second, Lust is always third, and so on. I made up a mnemonic device to remember it. People with Lekon's silverware generally eat goats. Because this is Lekon's Table, and he eats goats. I don't know. It's stupid, but mnemonic devices don't have to make sense, they just have to be something you can remember. So I've turned a couple of monsters into goats to get Pride and Wrath out of the way, because Lust is the goat I'm really interested in, and oh god, please don't quote me out of context on that. And now I've got this Lust goat, and I'm going to knock it over near the sacrifice. And Lust goat's special ability is spawns, sort of like the cave snakes over in Magma Mines. But unlike the cave snakes, instead of spawning those first strike thingamajigs, it spawns these Lekon's Chosen that are just like the regular goats that would normally spawn here in Curious, or that would normally spawn in the regular version of Lekon's Table. They do have no experience, but what they don't have is the Bloodless trait. And that seems like an oversight, if you ask me. Being able to farm infinite amounts of blood is ridiculously powerful. And because they're not bloodless with my Draining Blade, and I'm going to be able to get a bit of lifesteal from Dracul as well, I'll be able to keep attacking them forever without getting hurt. And thanks to my from Binlor, I got Stone Fist, the knockback ability. So with each of these spawned goats, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock the spawn into the original Lust goat once to spawn a replacement, and then knock it into the sacrifice a couple of times to deal damage. I won't lose any health in the process due to my lifesteal. And then I just have to repeat the cycle over and over again, getting a bit of free damage on my the sacrifice each time. I'm currently taking 1 damage per hit net, because they deal 3 damage to me and I have 2 stacks of lifesteal. That's not good enough, but it will be good enough soon. Turns out that killing no experience enemies removes curse stacks. I actually never knew about that interaction. But the reason I'm taking full damage from them is because I'm super cursed from that draining blade, which, by the way, I'm never going to find the vampiric blade this run, so that didn't pay off. But once the curses go away, my shield will kick in, and at that point they'll only deal 1 damage to me through my shield because of their 3 attack power, which is more than made up for by my 2 stacks of lifesteal. Exploring around a bit, trying to figure out my next move. I've somewhat forgotten that the curse stacks are going to go away soon. What I'm trying to do is get to 40 piety so I can get some more resistances from Dracul, because I've forgotten the curses and I'm thinking a bit more resistance is what's going to save me, as opposed to just getting decursed so my shield can do its job. And now that that's out of the way, I can cycle this over and over again, getting free damage on the sacrifice. In theory, the Lust Goat is taking damage as well, but knockback on an indirect target can't kill the indirect target. It can only leave it at 1 HP. So even though it's theoretically taking damage and being forced to spawn goats, it's never going to actually die. Bit of a graphical blip there where I tab out briefly to get my script set up, because I don't want to like hit the sacrifice all manually each time. Much rather automate it. And that's what I'm going to do. It's also worth noting, each of these goats I kill is leaving a blood pool on the ground, and those blood pools, they all stack up. Like, the game remembers there's like 50 blood pools in those tiles, and will let you drink tons and tons of them if you ever get sanguine. I'm worshipping Dracul. One might think I would then be taking advantage of sanguine to do that. I don't think it's actually going to be necessary, and the reason is I'm kinda already going infinite. I'll hopefully still be able to go infinite in a similar way later. I don't really need to have infinite blood pools on top of that. Like, twice infinity is a bit redundant. I could have snipped some of this from the video, and maybe that would have been best, but this loop actually runs pretty fast. It's only going to take a couple of minutes to get the sacrifice down to nothing. And before I started the loop running, something I did was I got myself up to 12 mana. That is going to be important. I'm going to need all 12 of those points of mana. Without that, I'd have to explore afterwards, that would heal the sacrifice, and I'd have to start the loop again, and be a huge pain. I'm always doing the hit of the goat into the sacrifice before the hit of the goat into the Lust Goat, because I'm dealing 3 base damage plus 2 knockback damage with each of these hits. Since these goats have 9 health, there's only 1 knockback damage left for the second hit. So I want the hit with more knockback damage to go to the sacrifice to make this run faster. Come to think of it, I don't actually know if that matters or not. Maybe it doesn't. I've honestly no idea about that precise detail of knockback. There's a lot of very arcane, obscure rules regarding knockback. So every time I think I know exactly how knockback works, something throws me for a loop. Now, once this phase is over and I kill the sacrifice, all of the goats that appear will be random goats of, like, the 7 deadly sins. I don't know how you can tell which goats are going to end up being which. The fixed order thing doesn't seem to apply anymore. Maybe the fixed order starts applying again when goats spawn one by one from the boss teleporting around. But in the initial change, when like 1,000,000 monsters are changed at once, it's going to seem pretty arbitrary to me. And that's actually quite dangerous. So 12 mana means 3 Pizzorfs to get rid of the death protections, and then Death Gaze gets the kill. And in retrospect, that was actually a bit of a mistake. I'm currently moused over the Vessel of Lekon, with an unknown Sin Goat on the opposite side of it. And I have knockback from Bidlore, so the knockback repost glitch is in full effect, and it's really nasty. If you have knockback, then if you ever mouse over a monster, and the monster on the opposite side, that would be the indirect target of the knockback, has the riposte ability, the game crashes. Not if you click on it to make the attack that would get riposted, just if you mouse over. Based on if the monster has mana burn, it can mana burn you if you're doing that with Pizzorf. I think it has something to do with the repost tries to apply during prediction, like it tries to actually damage you during prediction, and I think it ends up doing some sort of infinite loop of trying to damage you. So because of that, I need to be very careful when I'm moving around here to never mouse over a goat if there's another goat on the opposite side of it, and I don't know for sure it's not a sloth goat, because sloth goats have riposte. And I've lost some runs here abusing this glitch, where I just carelessly mouse over the wrong goat at the wrong time, and the unknown goat on the other side was a sloth goat. Game crashes. So, something to be careful of. Now, what I'm looking for is a higher level Lust Goat that I can make use of. The level 1s I kill in one hit now. I suppose I could weaken myself using a Sloth Goat, but I've got all this lifesteal. It would be kind of nice to be able to actually put it to use. So I'd like to find a mid-level Lust Goat, a bit lower level than me, who I can lifesteal off of super well, and knock into the Vessel of Lekon a bunch of times. Interesting to note that goat in the middle there, that used to be a Lust Goat, Lekon's Lust. It's now Lekon's Pride. Apparently even the monsters that have turned into goats and gotten a sin identity, their sins get randomized when the sacrifice is killed. Kind of an odd interaction, but that's the way it is. That was dangerous there. I moused over a level 10 with another level 10 of unknown ability on the opposite side. Though that level 5 and level 2, those monsters on the edge, for all I know, any of them could have had a Sin Goat of Sloth on the opposite side. Game could have crashed at any of those points. The bug is already known to the devs. Srid says he's going to fix it like this weekend or something, and it'll be out for the next patch. But in the meantime, like, it's something to be aware of. This can very easily just kill your run instantly. The Greed Goats have 99% lifesteal and 100% Essence Drain, so when you reveal them, you lose basically all your health and mana. Which means that you don't want to do too much region fighting in this phase, because you will sometimes just randomly lose your entire bars. So previously, I was taking a little bit of chip damage from each hit of that level 5 Lekon's Lust. Since I picked up that shield and the blacksmith, my defenses and offenses are exactly balancing each other out. So that's some convenient math. And that means that that'll be true of its spawns as well, because the Lust Goat spawns have the same stats as the original Lust Goat. Which means I can do the exact same loop as before, but with this level 5 Lust Goat where there used to be a level 1 Lust Goat. Well, there's that vampiric blade I wanted. I could pick it up, but currently I've got Miser earned, I've got Hoarder earned. Not that badges are particularly impressive when you're doing infinite loop shenanigans, but, you know, why throw it away? The knockback hits are pretty big here, so that's 2 big hits on the Vessel of Lekon, and then 1 on the Lust Goat to spawn a replacement. And we can do the same loop as before. Again, brief graphical glitch when I turn my script off. And now I can start it automated again. Vessel of Lekon has way more health than the Sacrifice did, but this level 5 goat with our level 6 stats, we're dealing way more knockback damage than we did before. So this is actually going to go a lot faster than the Sacrifice kill. Now normally, when the Vessel of Lekon gets down to like lower health, it starts teleporting around the map and then it destroys all the goats on the map. But that only happens when it's the direct target of an attack, and after the attack resolves, it's at lower than like 3/4, 1/2, 1/4 health for its different abilities. Here, it's only the indirect target of knockback, and indirect targets of knockback, a lot of their effects just don't end up triggering, and this is one of them. So I can get it all the way down to 1 HP without actually triggering the later phases of the fight, which would have wiped all these goats, removed my nice little lust. God, why did I really need to think about how I phrase these things better. Anyhow, it would have removed my engine. It's down to 1 HP. I can kill it with Death Gaze. It doesn't get a chance to do its thing. That's it. So, Lekon's Table Curious beaten with Gorgon, with Miser, with Hoarder, with Feeling Parched, with Curious, and without using IMAWAL or Avatar's Codex or the Amulet of Yendor, any of the usual strong things, and all it took was some real shenanigans to go infinite. I just really like going infinite. Got a bit of an eye for it, so in conclusion, spawns should be bloodless. If that would be enough.